Welcome to Reno's World Podcast, where truth slips through the cracks and myth waits in the shadows. I'm Reno Rains, your guide through the fog. Tonight's topic, are we living in a conspiracy theory? We're exploring the strange, the mysterious, and the downright unbelievable. And just so you know, we play an old movie to give you something to look at because, well, this is a podcast and we like to keep things interesting. So sit back, relax, and let's unravel tonight's tale. What if everything you thought you knew was a lie? Not a mistake, not a misunderstanding, but a coordinated effort, slow, subtle, engineered to make you believe you're the one in control. Your phone, your feeds, your choices. What if they were all just shadows on the wall of a cave and you've never even seen the fire? Sounds paranoid, right? But then again, how many times have we called someone crazy only to find out later they were right? This is the age of conspiracy theories. Some say we're more informed than ever. Others say we're trapped in a web of half-truths and digital illusions. But here's the question we all have to answer. Are we uncovering hidden truths or being fed illusions that keep us distracted from the real ones? Conspiracies used to be fringe ideas scribbled in notebooks or passed around at midnight in dive bars. Today, they trend on social media. They dominate YouTube rabbit holes. They get hundreds of millions of views, shares, reposts. From 9/11 to the moon landing, flat Earth to secret space programs. Some of these theories spark legitimate doubt. Others unravel into pure delusion. But all of them, every single one, taps into something primal. Because underneath the arguments and evidence, there's a deeper fear that the world is not what it seems. Let's start with something no one disputes. In the 1970s, the U.S. government declassified files from MK-Ultra, a real CIA program that tested mind control experiments on unwitting citizens. LSD, sensory deprivation, hypnosis, all real, all documented. For decades, anyone who talked about it was dismissed as a lunatic, until it wasn't a theory anymore. And that's the problem. Real conspiracies have happened, which means it's not irrational to suspect there might be others. That's how doubt seeps in. Not because we're gullible, but because history has already betrayed our trust. So how do we separate truth from madness? To answer that, we have to look not just at the claims, but at ourselves. Psychologists have studied the cognitive patterns behind conspiracy belief. It's not about intelligence. In fact, high IQ doesn't protect you. What matters more is emotional state, fear, uncertainty, a need for control. When the world feels chaotic, the brain looks for patterns, even if those patterns are false. This is called illusory pattern perception, seeing connections where none exist. But in a world of algorithmic manipulation, that tendency gets hijacked. Social media doesn't show you the truth. It shows you what keeps you engaged, what makes you click, what keeps you coming back. And if outrage, fear, or mystery do that better than facts, guess what wins? Let's go deeper. The Pizzagate conspiracy, a theory that claimed high-level politicians were involved in a secret trafficking ring hidden beneath a Washington, D.C. pizza parlor. It gained traction online. Forums, viral posts, cryptic research. And then one man showed up at that restaurant with a rifle. He was there to save the children. No basement was ever found, no ring uncovered. But belief doesn't need proof. It just needs emotion. And once belief sets in, contradicting evidence only makes it stronger. That's the backfire effect. It's why debunking doesn't always work. People don't just protect beliefs, they protect identity. If questioning a theory feels like questioning who you are, the theory wins. So here we are, surrounded by information, flooded by noise, some of it true, some of it not, and somewhere in the chaos a question flickers. What if the real conspiracy is the war for your attention? That's not metaphorical. Look at the money, the algorithms, the dopamine-triggered feedback loops. Billions are spent to keep you scanning, scrolling, reacting, not thinking, not analyzing, just absorbing. And that's how it works. Not with black helicopters, not with secret bunkers, but with influence, with data, with your willingness to go along with the story because it's easier than asking whether it's real. And if you think you're above it, if you're sure you'd know if you were being manipulated, ask yourself this: wouldn't that be the perfect cover? It's not about whether you believe in Bigfoot or the Illuminati or chemtrails. It's about whether you've ever stopped and asked, Who benefits from me believing this? Because every conspiracy has one thing in common. It makes someone money or power or both. Still think you're in control? Because the most dangerous conspiracy isn't the one you believe in. It's the one you don't even notice. And maybe that's the point. Maybe the scariest truth of all is that we don't live in a world of theories. We live inside one. We've talked about the patterns, the pull of uncertainty, the brain's need to connect dots, even when the picture isn't real. But here's the twist most people don't expect. Some conspiracy theories actually help us cope. In a world that often feels chaotic and senseless, the idea that someone is secretly pulling the strings, some cabal, government, or ancient order, can make things feel more ordered, even if that order is sinister. At least someone's in control. That's easier to process than randomness, or worse, meaninglessness. Psychologists call this compensatory control. When we lose faith in our institutions, governments, media, science, we look for something else to fill the void. Conspiracies step in. They offer explanations where reality only offers uncertainty. But there's a cost. When enough people lose trust in everything, everything becomes suspect. Elections, rigged. Vaccines, poison. School shootings, faked. Climate change, a hoax. Even tragedies, even trauma can be reframed as theater. False flags, crisis actors, manufactured chaos. Once that floodgate opens, reality fractures. Not because one theory is dangerous, but because they all blur the line between truth and fiction until there's no line left. And here's where it gets even darker. In 2012, researchers at the University of Kent ran a study. They found that believing in one conspiracy made people more likely to believe in others, even if they directly contradicted each other. People believed Princess Diana was both murdered and faked her death. That's not logic. It's emotional reasoning. Because once you stop trusting the official version of events, any alternative starts to feel more real. And that's the environment we live in now. Let's go back. 1963, the JFK assassination. Official reports say Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone. But polls? They've consistently shown that over 60% of Americans don't believe that. And maybe they're right. Maybe they're not. But the point is, doubt lasts longer than truth. And once a theory gets into the bloodstream of culture, it stays there. Now let's zoom forward. The COVID-19 pandemic, a real event, verified by every global health authority. And yet within weeks of its outbreak, dozens of conspiracies took root. It was a bioweapon. It was fake. It was a pretext for control. It was caused by 5G. No single narrative, just noise. And in that noise, confusion, division, and fear. Which leads us to QAnon, a digital mythos built on cryptic messages and anonymous intel drops. A theory that claimed to reveal a secret war against evil. No central documents, no verified sources, just breadcrumbs designed to make the reader feel like a detective. But here's the clever part. It made you feel like you were discovering the truth on your own. And when people discover something on their own, they trust it more. They become loyal to it. They become warriors for it. That's the genius of modern conspiracy. It doesn't force belief, it invites participation. But participation can become radicalization, and radicalization becomes real-world action. We've seen that now. Protests, violence, arrests. The real-world cost of ideas that on the surface started as harmless speculation. So here's the final unsettling layer. Some of these ideas, they're not organic. They're planted. In 2016, Russia's Internet Research Agency ran troll farms to influence American discourse, not just by supporting one political candidate, but by sowing division. They didn't have to sell a conspiracy. They just had to make people stop trusting each other. And they succeeded, because if you can't trust your neighbor, you'll never unite against the real problem. So again, we ask, are we living in a conspiracy? Or are we living in a world designed to make us believe we are? Maybe that's the real trick. Not keeping secrets, but flooding us with so many conflicting truths that we give up looking for any. And in that fog, power hides. We may never know the full truth behind JFK, 9/11, or secret space programs, but maybe the point isn't to know. Maybe the point is to keep us searching forever. Because the more distracted we are by the fake conspiracies, the less time we have to spot the real ones. And maybe that's what they're counting on. Evidence analysis, MK Ultra mind control program verified as true via declassified CIA documents, 1977 Church Committee hearings. Cognitive biases, illusory pattern perception, backfire effect, verified through peer-reviewed psychological studies. Influence of social media algorithms, verified through multiple studies, including those by the MIT Media Lab and Facebook whistleblowers. Pizzagate and QAnon intel claims, unverified, with no substantiated evidence, part of the legend. Crisis actors and false flag shootings, e.g. Sandy Hook hoax, proven false through investigations, lawsuits, and court rulings. Russian disinformation campaigns, 2016 election, verified by the U.S. Senate Intelligence Committee and multiple cybersecurity firms. Truth isn't just hidden, it's under attack. Stay sharp, stay skeptical, and ask yourself, who profits from your confusion?